Who doesn't remember that Primetime was an above-average baseball player, and Bo Jackson was an all-star in baseball and a Pro Bowler in football? And who remembers that Tebow guy? Ah well, for the resounding success that Leon Sandcastle and Vincent Edward enjoyed as two-sport athletes, history is filled with many more two-sport failures. And today we're listing the top 5 athletes who really sucked at the second sport that they attempted. The phrase, "stay in your lane," has never had such a fitting double entendre. Before I get into this, I want to thank SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. SeatGeek is a mobile app that aggregates ticket prices from all over the web, gives them a color-coded and numerical rating, lets you see the view from the seats before you buy, and is done safely and securely right on your phone. Download the SeatGeek app from the link below and enter in my code FPG in the Me tab and get $20 back on your first order. Hey, you might be able to attend multiple events. SeatGeek! Number 5. Chad Johnson, soccer. First of all, I love Chad Johnson. The guy legally changed his name to a number, though personally I would have gone with Chad 69. Anyways, during the 2011 NFL lockout, Johnson decided that he wanted to play Major League Soccer as he played in high school. His tryout was less than dandy, and he did play in a reserve game but was not offered an actual contract, as he only worked out with the team for 4 days and then went back to football. And we wonder why Americans suck at soccer as a country. Our best athletes play football. Number 4, Jose Canseco, boxing. Jose Canseco, the ultimate meathead. Literally. The man who took more steroids than a 2-year-old horse the day of the Kentucky Derby was once one of the most dynamic and fearsome hitters in baseball. This clip is basically what the all-steroid Olympics is to baseball. And once he was basically done with his baseball career due to stupid things like wanting to pitch and, taking too many steroids, Jose Canseco thought he would try his hand at something he thought he was good at, being a bully and hitting people. So in 2007, 6 years after Canseco's retirement, former NFL player Vi Sikahema accepted a challenge to fight Canseco in Atlantic City. Sikahema, who stood 5'9", knocked a 6'4" Canseco out in the first round. You would think Canseco knew he couldn't fight for shit, but then someone thought it would be a great idea for him to fight former child star Danny Bottaducci. That ended in a draw, which I mean is probably an L for both of these guys. I would have to say, however, the highlight of Canseco's combative sports career is in 2011 when Jose was scheduled to fight in South Florida. However, instead of going, he sent his twin brother Ozzy to fight instead. This bait and switch was easily foiled when everyone involved in the event that possessed at least one working eye saw that Ozzy's tattoos were different than Jose's. I like that you could tell a lot of premeditation went into this grand caper of masterminded crime Jose and Ozzy cooked up. I mean, how could it not work? Number 3, CM Punk and MMA. Now, I normally do not count wrestling as a sport, and that's not going to change. However, I guess you could say CM Punk is an athlete of sorts if you call choreographed violence athletic. I did choose him as an example of why, unless you are Cock Chestnut and you are a freak of humanity, you should stick to what you are good at and stay the hell out of the octagon. Though I guess the challenge the UFC has now is keeping their best fighter in the octagon. Heyo. Philip Jack Brooks, better known as CM Punk, enjoyed a long career in the WWE and was a 2-time champion, whatever that is good for. But in 2014, he announced his retirement and signed a multi-fight deal with the UFC and gave away every last shroud of dignity left in his body. And remember to use my code TOUCHDOWN87. Why the then 36-year-old Punk with zero MMA experience and training was getting a multi-fight deal when other worthy fighters were being cut is befuddling, but when it comes to Dana White, he'll do anything to sell tickets. And after 2 years of prep and excuses, Punk finally fought up-and-coming Mickey Gall at UFC 203 in September of 2016, with Gall slapping on a rear neck in 2:14 of the first round. And it is alleged Punk was paid $500K for losing in pretty much the most amateur way possible. It's worth noting that Matt Serra received about $48K for knocking out GSP in 2007. $30K of that was in bonuses. I guess acting is pretty lucrative. Number 2, Roy Jones Jr., basketball. Did you know that aside from being robbed of a gold medal and becoming one of the greatest pound-for-pound boxers to ever lace up the gloves, Roy Jones Jr. played professional basketball? Did you also know he has dual Russian and American citizenship? Wikipedia is amazing. Not only did Roy Jones once play basketball in the USBL for one game, he did it on the morning of his title defense against Eric Lucas in 1996. Jones would play for the Jazz Jacksonville Barracudas against the Treasure Coast Tropics in North Florida and scored 8 points, and then went on to beat Lucas later that afternoon and earn $1.5 million versus the $300 he earned that morning. Jones had expressed that he wanted to play in the NBA someday, but I don't know, might have been a stretch there. Bonus fact, legends from other walks of life that have played in the USBL include rapper Master P, Terrell Owens, and everyone's favorite urinator, R. Kelly. Before I get into the number one, I have a few honorable mentions. Drew Henson sucked at both sports that he played. Josh Booty the same, and Danny Ainge was decent at both. Number one, Michael Jordan, baseball. Michael Jordan was so bad at baseball, they actually made an entire feature-length film about it, the documentary known as Space Jam. In the film, Jordan is giving upcoming pitches to him by the catcher in a scene that is probably based on 75% fact. During his gambling suspension in 1993-94, I assumed Jordan had gotten bored and wanted to play baseball. I know he wasn't suspended, but it's also very odd that the greatest player that ever lived decided to quit the sport he was the greatest at in the middle of his peak to go and play a very difficult game he had not played since high school. I guess it was more of a ploy for Jerry Reinsdorf to convince Jordan to stop moping around and get back on the court. But clearly it worked, as in 1994 in Double-A for the Birmingham Barons, Jordan hit .202 with 3 home runs, 51 RBI, and 30 stolen bases. Now, he did get a couple hits in spring training with the White Sox, and not that .202 is terrible, but like, yeah, .202 is terrible. And even though he was improving, Jordan figured out in 1995 that he was indeed the greatest player to ever play the game, and got back on the court and resumed cock-blocking the Knicks like the fat friend who hasn't been fed, and won 3 more championships until he retired for good in 1998. I mean, 2003. But who can forget the cinematic genius that was Space Jam? Man, they need to make a sequel because I smell Oscars. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. And don't just subscribe, hit that notification bell too. And don't forget to download the SeatGeek app from the link below and enter in my code FPG in the Me tab and get $20 back on your first order. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to the end of this video. Hey, I wonder if I should try stand-up.
Stay in your lane.